Hello, students. This is Mr. Smith here. You might not know me, but I'm a literacy teacher at Coon Rapids High School, and I teach you the skills that you'll need to be successful in college. I still teach college at the University of St. Thomas, and I'm going to teach you exactly what I teach my college students. So we want to make sure that you're getting those skills down and that you're able to use them throughout high school and be successful. If you have these skills, there's no reason why you won't get A's and B's in your courses. You'll be able to tackle pretty much any task that you need to. So we're going to work on something that's kind of difficult today, the Declaration of Independence, but we're going to break it down in a way that's much easier. But before we get to that, we're going to have a little fun writing activity with it, at least as much fun as you can have in a social studies class. So our topic today is the Declaration of Independence, and it's the ultimate breakup letter. So we're going to be writing a breakup letter today, having some fun with that. It's going to take me about 10 minutes to explain it, and then maybe 10 minutes for you to write it. And then we'll stop there for the day. And then the second part, we'll spend about 10 minutes going through the Declaration of Independence. So you're going to need about 20 minutes of time to complete this task. First thing, before we get going, we always like to get our background knowledge activated. So you may have heard the phrase John Hancock or seen this signature. It's actually a real signature that's at the bottom of the Declaration of Independence. Now, you might hear someone say, put your John Hancock on this line, or I need your John Hancock. And that's what they're referring to. This big signature was at the bottom of the Declaration of Independence. The legend is that John Hancock, who became governor of Massachusetts later on, wanted the king to really know and see his name. So he wrote his name in real huge letters as a sign of protest, to protest the king, to really call him out. Not really true. He didn't really know how many people had to sign the document, so he basically just took up too much room. They actually had to attach a separate sheet of names, a sign-in list, if you will, of all the people that had to sign it. But since he was first, he wrote his name in big, huge letters, and because his signature is rather unique and neat, it became known as a synonym for put your signature here. So if you hear that phrase, you now know where it comes from. So we're going to write a breakup letter today. We're going to have a little fun with it. We're not going to be real. You're not going to be putting someone on blast or anything like that. Okay. But we are going to learn to write a breakup letter in this very specific way, which I'll outline for you. And you don't have to, again, use a real person. You're not going to be mean or anything like that. And I promise, I will connect this to the Declaration of Independence. So what we're going to do, we're going to write a breakup letter. And this is the way we're going to do it. It's going to be an imaginary boy, girlfriend. I've had people do this before. They've broken up with the Minnesota Vikings, who just traded Stephon Diggs. So maybe you break up with him or the Vikings or Kirk Cousins. I've had people break up with Snapchat, Netflix, Adidas shoes, whatever. Have fun with it, but follow this pattern of when we write it. So, number one, you're going to start your letter by explaining what it is that's about to happen. 2 sentences. For example, Dear Boo, today is April 24th. Today, our relationship ends. 2 sentences, real simple. Dear Boo, today I am changing my Facebook status to single. You guys probably don't do Facebook anymore, probably do Snap or whatever, Instagram, whatever. Something like that. Tell them what's going to happen. Today, our relationship is changing. 2 sentences, okay? Step two, explain how you thought the relationship was going to be, or tell them how you think it should be. So you might say something like, I thought our relationship was going to be fun. However, it turns out to be really boring and dull. All you want to do is play video games. Whatever it is. 2 sentences. Three, this is kind of the fun part. You can make a list of 3 things you found wrong with the relationship or the situation. So just make a list of 3 things that you found wrong or they did wrong. Kirk Cousins, say, he's the quarterback for the Vikings. You say he misses wide open receivers, he can't run at all, and he gets sacked too much. There's 3 things. Number 4, describe how you tried to change the relationship or the situation. 2 sentences. So you might say, Kirk Cousins, we drafted offensive linemen to protect you. We drafted receivers to help you, and you still couldn't win games. Whatever. And then 5, you clinch it. You explain your final feelings and your final decision. Because of everything that has happened, I do no longer feel I can be in a relationship with you. This is my final decision, effective today. So again, have fun with it. Follow the pattern. Don't make it harder than it is. Choose something fun. Follow the pattern and write your breakup letter. Shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes or so. And we'll have a little fun with it, maybe share out, turn them in, something like that. And we'll come back to it in just a second. And I'll tell you exactly why we just did that silly assignment. So welcome back, guys. I hope your writing assignment went well, had some fun with it, and I'll tell you why we did that assignment right now. So take a look at the slide here. We have Thomas Jefferson, and he wrote much of the Declaration of Independence. We'll be talking about him in a little bit. Here's a funny little meme with him. A lot of people call the Declaration of Independence the ultimate breakup letter. Okay, so you look at the meme there, there's Thomas Jefferson, and he says, it's not you, it's us, or US. Notice the periods there, as in the United States. So here, let me make the connection between what you just wrote and the Declaration of Independence. The pattern you followed sets up the form of the Declaration of Independence. So the first part you did in your 2 sentences, you said, Dear whoever, I'm breaking up with you today. Those first 2 sentences, that's called the preamble. The second part, where you talked about how it should be, I believe you should treat someone with respect. I believe you're supposed to have fun when you're in a relationship. Whatever you wrote, those 2 sentences becomes your statement of beliefs. Then those 3 things, that bullet list, things they did wrong. You talk to my friends, you don't text me back, yada, yada, yada. The list. It's called the list of grievances. And you'll see here shortly that that's a huge part in the Declaration of Independence. It's a list of grievances. Remember that word grievances means you did something wrong. And then you have the next 2 things you wrote were how you tried to change the relationship. Like, I called you all the time, I texted you all the time, I bought you gifts, I took you out to nice places. That's called your efforts to avoid separation. I jumped ahead there. Your efforts to avoid separation. Okay, and then the last thing is just your straight up 2 sentences saying, my decision is final, we're done. You explain your feelings and your decision, and that's called your intent to separate. We'll outline these on the document in just a bit, so you don't got to memorize them. Don't got to memorize them. Just be familiar with them. So our learning target today is you're going to read and annotate the 5 parts of the Declaration of Independence. It's going to take us about 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. But the big question we're kicking around here is, how is the Declaration of Independence similar to a breakup letter? And we've already shown you that just a bit ago, but we're going to take it forward and take it a step deeper here. The thing you got to know when you read the Declaration of Independence or some other text written at a high level is that it's hard. Okay, this is a challenging text for everyone. Nobody reads this document from start to finish. Nobody. Nobody understands every single word of it. So the question is, how are we going to read or decode this difficult document? And it's kind of like rock climbing. You can see the person there. You have to grab things to hold on to, little bits and pieces to hold on to. Again, nobody reads this thing from start to finish. start to finish one time and goes, oh, I understand every single word of it? Nobody. And while we're reading this, we're going to use a real simple strategy called the HUM strategy. But basically, I teach all of my college students, and that stands for highlight, underline, and margins, meaning write in the margins. So you got to read with a pen in your hand, a highlight in your hand, your stylus, whatever you got. You have to read with something in your hand so that your brain is going. I like to make little marks like little stars, little exclamation points, but you can do whatever it is you like that works for you. Keep it simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to label first the 5 parts of the Declaration of Independence. There they are listed right there. We've already went over them once, but we're going to label them on our document. And then I'm going to show you how to read the first couple paragraphs here. And if you really hate reading or you don't like it or you struggle with it like I did in school, you're going to want to pay attention because I'm going to kind of show you how to make sense of this while just kind of picking out little things you can do to help you make sense of it. And before we get to the actual document, we're going to do a quick word attack because this is a word that's going to appear, meaning we're going to break this word up here. So which parts of the following word do you notice? So you have unalienable. So you take a look at the word and you're like, what parts of the word do I understand? What parts of the word do I already recognize? You might do something like this. Break it into pieces. Able, you know that. Able means you are able to do something. You can do it. You're capable of doing it. Alien, well, you might think of like UFOs and extraterrestrials and all that kind of stuff. So aliens. So you can make something like an alien. You can make it foreign is the word. So to make foreign, okay, something like that. We have alienable to make like foreign. You add unto it, and it does the opposite. So it means you can't make it foreign. And what this means, and this word means you can't take it away from someone. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. It can't be taken away. They can't make it foreign. So if something's unalienable, it belongs to you no matter what. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We're ready to tackle this Declaration of Independence. You should have a file called the transcript of Declaration of Independence. Open that up. If you like, print it out. I would much rather have a printed out copy. I'm going to try to do this with a stylus, but it's a little clunky, but do whatever works for you. If you want it printed out, print it out. If you want to use your stylus and do it on your computer, do it that way. Just make sure you have a way to make annotations, highlight things, and things like that. All right, let's get going here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to label the parts of the Declaration of Independence. This is super easy. So all you got to do is follow along here, and I'll help you or show you the parts. So this first paragraph there is called the preamble. So you can see what I did there. You just write preamble right there. And I'm just going to scroll down here to this next part, because the next part becomes our statement of beliefs. So I'm going to try to write that somewhat legibly here. Statement of beliefs. And that's that whole second paragraph. Actually, it goes a little further than you can see on the screen right here, right? Get rid of that guy there. Scroll down here. So it goes down all the way to there. 2 parts down. Easy, right? The next part is huge. So the whole rest of the page is going to be your list. You might notice already how each one is beginning with he. We'll come back to that in just a second. List of grievances. If you want to get fancy, you could do different colors for each section. That's up to you. I'm not that fancy. So the rest of this page is the list of grievances, even right all the way down there. The entire second page is the list of grievances as well. Oops, I done messed that up there. Okay, let me get rid of this here. The entire second page is the list of grievances too. So these guys got a lot to be angry about. I'm going to get rid of that there. So the whole second page, just keep going, scrolling down. I'm just going to write up here all of page 2, list of grievances. And start noticing how everyone begins pretty much with he or for, things like that. We'll dig into it in just a bit. So the entire second page is list of grievances. So we're going to move on to the third page here. Scrolling down, that's all list of grievances, all list of grievances, all list of grievances. We're on to the third and final page. Get rid of this here. We still have some grievances here on our third and final page that we need to annotate. That keeps coming back, driving me nuts. Okay. Okay, where is it? There we go. So we're at the top of the third page. And there's still some things that he is doing that is wrong. We'll talk about that in just a bit. These are still list of grievances. 3 parts down, 2 left. Okay, so we have to say what are now our efforts to avoid separation. And that's going to be, in fact, I will use a different color. All the way here, and we'll write efforts to avoid separation. If you want to abbreviate it, go ahead. If you just want to write something more succinct, like just using a keyword like separation, you know what, that looks terrible, so I'm just going to get rid of that. We're going to try that again. Sometimes you just gotta, it's a learning experience here. This is why I'd much rather have a hard copy. Ooh, that's better. All right. Efforts to avoid separation. And I'm just going to abbreviate that there as SEP. Now we're down to the last part. Our intent to separate. This is, we're done. We're over. We're moving on. Try this again here. There we go. I just abbreviated it. Intent to separate. So you have your 5 parts. You didn't have to read it yet. And you got your 5 parts of the declaration all annotated. Hopefully yours looks a little bit better than mine. It's not as clunky and as clumsy, but make it work for you. We're going to go back to the first 2 paragraphs together of the declaration, and you're going to have a real good understanding of this document in just a little bit. Okay, guys, we're going to take a look at the first two paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. I cleared mine up a little bit so it was just easier to read, but you should already have your parts notated. So we take a look at this, we start reading it, we see transcript of the Declaration of Independence. We all know it's 1776. We all know that July 4th was our nation's anniversary. It says in Congress, July 4th, 1776. Doesn't really mean it's the day it was written. It was actually written probably July 2nd and then agreed to on July 4th. And they had to send this document around to 13 colonies to be signed by everybody. So that kind of took a while. But we celebrate July 4th as our nation's birthday. So that's why it was the day it was agreed to by everybody, all considered parties. One of the key points I first want to make about this document is that you remember John Hancock's signature? As soon as he signed his name to this document, it was a death sentence. It was an act of treason, which means if you committed treason, you did something that the king didn't like, you would be put to death. So that's the seriousness with which we need to regard this document. It's that intense. So the men who signed it knew that they were probably going to be sentenced to death for doing so by the King of England. Okay, so we look at along here, we talked about the date already, and we read this little title, and there's some curious things about this title here. It says the Unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. And if you're just reading along, you might not pick up on some of the things that are really interesting here. For example, we have this word unanimous there. I'm going to try to highlight here now, see if I can get that to work. Unanimous. Now, if you didn't know what that means, you might look it up or ask someone, whatever. It means everybody. So it means everyone who is involved agrees to this declaration. So it's the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. But this isn't a typo. You might have noticed something. There's not a type. This isn't a typo. This right here, this lowercase u, is really interesting because we don't yet have the United States of America. That's why it's not capitalized. There is no USA yet for anybody to talk about. So it's just being created. We are not united yet. This is the point, not united yet. We're still disagreeing about things and we're still hashing things out as a country.